The cheapest way to a dream home is to build it yourself.
Right, get a shovel, Sam. Get plenty of shovels.
But can it be done for less than £100,000?
If you think outside the box, you can build something extraordinary.
Architect Piers Taylor will help families facing dilemmas,
How about making this the kitchen?
That's radical.
while I, Kieran Long, will show them a world of inspiring design,
What do you think of this place?
Amazing.
I think it's spectacular.
packed with ideas that can work in any home.
This is the kind of thing we want to do for our grandchildren.
And they needn't be expensive.
It's so not 3 bus windscreens, is it?
It's been transformed.
It's a challenge
In this case, I think we've just got to start again.
that's as tough as it gets.
It's been one of the worst days of my life.
But some will turn low-cost self-builds into fantastic homes.
It looks great.
This is amazing.
This time,
Oh, very lovely.
Derek and Christine love the modern
Oh, yes, extremely lovely.
Oh, yes.
and the quirky,
I love the door handles.
but plans for their home don't add up.
It's an off-the-peg staircase and off-the-peg doors. If you can build a house that's anything, why would you do that?
And a devastating blow threatens the entire house.
We've worked on this project for a year, and is it all to waste?
In Huddersfield, Derek and Christine are on the move.
OK. Life's just too good and too full of nice things to be sitting down in front of the television. We travel a lot, we party a lot, we go to music, and hopefully by keeping ourselves occupied, we'll keep ourselves young.
Derek's a big fan of music festivals. And back in the 60s, he was a roadie for Liverpool band The Notions, which played regularly at the Cavern Club. Later, he became an engineer building power stations, while Christine ran her own recruitment business.
Do you think we might have a cookie and coffee break at some point? I'm not saying right now.
Hiya.
Now, aged 67 and 71, they're starting a new life in Kent, closer to friends and family. And building their new home there from scratch.
It is the next chapter of our lives. It is exciting. There'll be loads more exciting steps.
We are children of the 60s.
Who needs convention?
We are just elderly hippies.
Derek and Christine have bought a plot on the Kent-Sussex border for £162,500 and have just 95k to build their home.
The front door will be about here.
If they can pull it off, they'll save getting on for 200 grand on the cost of a similar local house.
A lot of money is at stake with this. Our entire life savings are at stake with this.
£30,000 of life savings have already been ploughed into a bespoke frame for the house design that Christine devised, and the couple refined together.
I cannot afford to get it wrong. There is just no possibility of it failing because I haven't got enough time left in my life to recover if we fail.
Without any previous design experience, the odds are stacked against Derek and Christine creating a fantastic home. But their whole future depends on getting it right. I've spent my whole career searching out the best in modern architecture and design. And Piers is one of Britain's most innovative and creative architects. I've come to his studio so we can look for ways to help the couple achieve the best house possible for the money. Our first step is to understand exactly what they're building. It's a 3-bedroom, 2-storey house, which will be clad in traditional Kentish clapboard. The front elevation is largely determined by planning rules. But inside, they've avoided corridors and doors where possible, aiming to save cash and create a light, modern feel. Upstairs, a steel and glass balcony makes the most of the south-facing views from the living room and the master bedroom. Downstairs, there's Derek's study, which doubles as a guest bedroom, a guest bathroom, the kitchen diner, and another guest bedroom, doubling as Christine's sewing room. The plans are clear enough, but will this be a dream home for the couple?
I think there is a lot of bravery about Derek and Christine. They're in their 70s. You know, this is a lot of work to take on. So it's a big step, and you've got to admire them for taking it. The strange thing about seeing these drawings for me is that these people are flamboyant, but you would not know who this building was for, what kind of lifestyle it was designed to contain. Developers all over the country are building houses with a standard kitchen, a standard bathroom, standard room sizes. When you've got the chance to do anything, it's so shocking to see a building that's so much like that lowest common denominator.
The windows are placed in such a way that they don't even light the rooms.
It's quite clear that in this kitchen, even washing up with a view is impossible. You're not allowed to look out the window while you're working.
And it's even things like ventilation. So in a kitchen, on a rainy day, a windy day, you need to be able to open a window a crack to be able to let some air in. Here, you can't do that. You open a patio door and it bangs around in the wind. You can't vent through a patio door. And I think the second thing is there's a kitchen and dining room downstairs. The lounge is upstairs. So there's no relationship between them. The two most important things, as you know, in architecture are the organisation of space and the penetration of daylight. This has neither of those things.
They're constrained by planning in terms of the way the building looks on the outside, but there must be stuff we can do inside.
I think the biggest challenge is that you can't make this better by adding wallpaper, colour, finish. It needs to be a fundamental structural reorganisation of space and light here to get it to work.
Derek and Christine's home needs to be lighter and better suited to their sociable lifestyle. Piers wants to help them make it that way.
They have spent a long time working on these plans, and I think they could be a bit defensive. So I need to tread quite carefully, but at the same time, I want them to unpick all of the decisions they've made and reconsider everything. Hi, Derek. Hi, Christine.
Hiya.
How you doing?
Hi, Piers. How you doing?
Good. Good to meet you.
How'd you do?
So look at this. This is about a week's work.
Yes,
Yeah,
it is.
2.5 days.
Amazing. From almost nothing, there's what looks like a house.
Yeah, yeah.
Christine, did you imagine this space?
I wanted it light and airy, modern. I didn't want any little nooks and crannies
Yeah.
that collected dust and dirt. I want something that had a spacious, open, airy feel. The only thing that I do regret, that I wish we'd put a window in that wall.
It's quite dark, that corner,
It is,
isn't it?
that's what I feel.
For me, you know, you look like unconventional people, and at the moment I see a very conventional house. Why is it so ordinary so far when the planners haven't defined what's inside? Why hasn't it got sparkly, dangly ear? You know, why is it the bandana?
The finished article might have sparkly, dangly earrings
Yeah.
and a bandana. At the moment, you are seeing
Yeah.
the bare bones of it.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, you know, you talk about this house being modern, but, you know, you can't sprinkle some modern dust on this and suddenly it's a modern house. I mean, how do you do something here that is a contemporary building without just putting some modern fittings in it? You know, what do you like? Tell me
What do I
about
like
buildings,
personally?
buildings you like.
A clean, simple, efficient.
Yeah.
I think are probably the key words.
Have you gone to a building that you like, you love, I'd say, actually?
I don't think so, particularly.
Derek doesn't appear to care about buildings, but I suspect, even if he doesn't realise it, if he lived in a really nasty building, he certainly would. What's curious about Derek and Christine is that they're so likeable, they're so interesting and quirky, and, you know, if you took all those adjectives and applied it to a building, it sure wouldn't look like this one. For me, this is very hard because at the moment there's not really any brief. There's just a set of spaces that have conventional room names attached to them. A kitchen, a study, a living room, a bedroom, and not much else.
Derek and Christine seem to believe it's the decor that'll add character to their home. In reality, it's good use of space and light that'll make it a pleasure to live in. Piers seizes the chance to challenge them.
Where's the kind of, where's the passion for this building? You could build anything. This is your one shot at building anything.
You're coming at it from a totally different point of view, and we appreciate that.
What do you love about it?
We love the geographical position of it. We love the way it's capturing the south-facing views. We like the disposition of the rooms. We can visualise a good lifestyle. We know what our friends are like. We know how our social life's going to develop, and we can see that fitting in here. All of that ticks all the boxes that we really want to tick.
Piers has an idea for a fundamental change that would transform this ordinary house into something special and ideal for socialising.
Why don't you put the kitchen upstairs with the living room and put your bedroom down there? Coming up to kind of kitchen living, which had a stair that arrived in the middle. However you finish it would always be amazing. At the moment, what's curious is that the building depends on your taste, your decor to make it amazing. Whereas having, irrespective of style, a big space with lots of south-facing light, with lots of south-facing balcony, it's kind of priceless.
I do prefer a separate lounge. I just think if you're entertaining, I don't like people in the kitchen when you're trying to cook. I do like to, say, eat in the kitchen and then go into a separate lounge.
I think if you were to solve a problem, it would be to allow the two rooms to benefit from one another. So you put them both upstairs and you put a dividing thing that allows you to borrow the light from one to the other, borrow the view from one to the other, borrow the sense of space from one to the other. Your valid concern that you're in the kitchen making something, people are having dinner, and you don't want them to see them. I mean, there's lots of ways around that.
I think this idea of moving the kitchen upstairs does have some mileage in it.
Piers' suggestion would turn a conventional home into one flooded with light and perfect for entertaining. His idea is to swap the master bedroom and kitchen diner, bringing the kitchen diner up to the first floor. The central wall upstairs is currently blocking light and views. Removing it and replacing it with a more innovative form of screening would give privacy when needed, but allow the whole of the upstairs to become a spacious and flexible living area for the couple and their guests. Derek has to deal with the practicalities of changes, including checking them with planning and building control. Can Piers persuade him?
This wall, is a block to A, that fantastic Oast house, but B, the kind of distant view beyond. And, having a space that's this big from here to there would just be amazing, really. I mean, how do you feel about undoing stuff?
If we feel the benefit is there, then the hell with the amount of work. It's me and I don't know, 50 quid for a few bits of wood or something. But we're open to this idea and we want to experiment with it.
Experiment is, that's one of my favourite words. And, I guess this house could do with a bit of that.
Piers has had a breakthrough, showing Christine and Derek a huge improvement to their house is still possible. Now I need to fire them up with a vision of how amazing it could be. I've found a home which is spacious, sociable, and not divided into conventional rooms. It's Mission Hall in Sussex by Adam Richards Architects. And I hope this will become the first modern home to inspire the couple.
I wanted to bring you to this house to start to think about how you really live in a contemporary interior, how you live in an elevated interior. This house is an upside-down house, and we can just think about that living space, how it works, that can really add a lot to a building.
Right, lead on.
Yeah.
Come on in. Come into the cool.
Oh, it's beautiful.
This is so nice, this space. It's kind of cave-like, and I love this shallow vault here. Feels a bit like a kind of very glamorous cellar.
The bedrooms are downstairs, where it's naturally darker, with corridors adding to the snug feel. It's a deliberate move to contrast with what lies above.
That staircase makes you want to touch it and go up there to see what's there. It's like it's mysterious.
Well, let's do that.
Let's go
get
upstairs.
up there.
Like Derek and Christine, the owners of Mission Hall love to entertain and enjoy the landscape beyond the home. The house is tailor-made for both.
Oh, very lovely. Oh, yes, extremely lovely.
Oh, yes.
When you go up to your living space and you have the beautiful view, is this how you would like to feel? You know, I mean, being up here amongst the trees with the view across the farmland there.
There is a similarity. The view is across the farmland. There are trees with the neighbour's house, so there is a similarity. I don't think we have any intentions of photocopying the place because we've got our own furniture. And
No, but all I'm interested in is
feeling,
I'm interested in how you feel right now.
Yes.
This whole space here with these high ceilings,
Yeah.
the kind of sense of being surrounded by the trees, it does sort of lift you.
Oh, it
doesn't
does.
A good view can be framed elegantly by using plain curtains and white walls, which will also keep things bright inside. Contrasting colours and textures stop the white from feeling stark.
So I think most importantly for you guys is to come and stand out here on this balcony.
Yes.
You know, it's quite a shallow balcony here. This is probably
Yes,
a metre.
yes.
You've just got a bit more than a metre.
Yeah.
When you go towards the light and you get these
Oh,
moments,
yes,
you
yes.
love, I can tell you love
Yeah,
this.
you can't help but smile, can you? When you look at the sunshine and the view and the flowers, it is beautiful. Yeah.
And it's beautiful to imagine having a living space that really has this view as part of it.
Yes,
it's just
yes.
fabulous. But I mean, how do you feel when you're standing up here, looking at a beautiful long view? Do you start to feel a bit like, this is what I could win?
This is what I could achieve.
The first floor shows walls aren't needed to create rooms. You can use a rug and grouping of sofas to create a sitting room, and add striking pendant lights above a table to help define a dining area, all within one generous open-plan space. And if you want the option of privacy, like Christine, it can be created with a solution that's far more imaginative than acres of plasterboard.
My eyes just caught on the kitchen, which is hidden away behind here. And this effectively is, although it's a beautiful piece of furniture in its own right, it's effectively a room divider screening the kitchen off.
But without the need for doors.
Without the need for doors, without the need for a wall construction or whatever. And it's a very interesting use of space.
So, Derek, it is really nice, isn't it, to get into this room without going through a door and just past this very beautiful temple-like piece of joinery.
Yeah.
It is.
The thing I like most about it is how sociable this could be. You can be cooking
Oh,
here.
indeed.
Somebody can be lounging on the sofa, you can see them, but they're not in the space.
Yeah,
You know,
yeah.
it's connected but not divided. I think that's really strong.
Open-plan spaces are prone to feeling cavernous, but this home shows how you can use furniture to create cosy areas. And when you need space for throwing parties, furniture is movable, unlike solid walls.
There's certainly ideas to explore, avenues to explore there.
I can see something's awakening in your
Oh,
mind.
something is very much awake in my mind.
Having seen how well an open-plan first-floor space can work, Derek and Christine must now weigh whether to make a dramatic change to the layout of their home.
I think the way they have done it here has been in a very clever, innovative and beautiful way. But whether it will be applicable to us, I don't know.
It's been an absolutely brilliant day here with Derek and Christine, and I loved how they just immediately embraced this building and they understood the gesture of the architecture, which is great. What's harder with them is to get them to see the connection between this and their build. They're trying to understand how to make a beautiful, open-plan living space at first-floor level with a great view. It's just the same problem that is cracked so magnificently here. So I hope they go away, think about it a bit further, and start to adjust their attitude to that thorny problem on their first floor.
After a few days mulling over upside-down living, Christine's realised there are some snags with applying the idea to their home.
I liked the idea of the kitchen upstairs. I was very sold on that, but I didn't like the idea of moving the bedroom downstairs. Because there are practical benefits of having the kitchen downstairs. It means I haven't got to carry the shopping upstairs.
Derek's also concluded the disadvantages outweigh the benefits.
We've been to quite a few lectures at building trade exhibitions, and a common theme was to keep it simple. diminish corridors, keep it open, keep it straightforward. And we adopted that as our design brief, and when we looked at Piers' plans for downstairs, that seemed to be putting in corridors and doors that we'd designed out. So we weren't overly impressed with that. I like to think, and I think Christine's with me on this as well, that the time we spent in the early design stage has paid off, and we've got something that we are happy with.
It's really disappointing Derek and Christine have rejected this change. Piers and I need to work out what other ways of improving the house will appeal to them more. But right now, the couple are preoccupied. During the build, they and visiting family are living in a caravan nearby, and Derek's feeling under pressure.
We don't have anywhere to go other than this caravan, but we're not looking forward to a winter in it. We might think it'd be extremely cold. So there's a great incentive to get ourselves into gear and get into habitation, even though it will probably only be half the house to start with. If we've got running water, if we've got electricity, if we've got a loo and a bedroom, that's cool, we'll live with that. Let's just lift it up a bit and have a look at it.
Derek and Christine have been partners for 23 years, and each has 2 children from an earlier marriage. Today, Derek's son Christopher is lending some muscle power.
Can you get that under there from there?
Work at the house is progressing well when there's staggering news from the council.
We've had an email from planning which suggests that we've built the house in the wrong place.
Yeah.
It really is absolutely devastating that there is no word to describe the depths that your feelings go to. It's despair, it's we've worked on this project for a year, and is it all to waste? This dimension between the corner of the house and the pub is less than was expected. I think we're talking about half a metre to a metre. The planning advisors that we've spoken to tell us that, strictly speaking in law, a millimetre is enough to create a problem. We have been advised to stop work on site.
Derek thinks lack of detail in the original plans showing the plot's shape and size may be the root of the problem. Christine is clear about her role.
I try and be as supportive as possible and try and be realistic and say we will find a way forward. We had all the good times when things were going really well. This is just a bad time.
Derek is finding it harder to stay positive.
With the plot and the build together, we reckon we're around about £220,000 in, and we just cannot afford to lose that. There is no contingency in the world that allows for complete dismantling and rebuild of a house. If we can't resolve the problem, maybe we're doomed to live in rented accommodation for the rest of our lives. I just don't know.
The couple have submitted a brand new planning application to keep the house where it is. But with autumn approaching, Derek is desperate to crack on without waiting for formal approval. Piers heads to the site, determined to spell out the dangers of doing so.
This is the stuff of nightmares for self-builders. Derek and Christine have built their house in the wrong place, and that's a really, really big deal. And in planning, there are some things you can be cavalier about, but building your house in the wrong place and being told then to stop, I mean, that really is a big deal, and you really don't mess with that. Hello.
Oh, hiya. Hi.
Hi, Christine.
Hiya.
How you doing?
Fine,
Good to
thank
see you
you.
again.
Yeah.
Hi, Derek.
Morning, Piers.
How's things?
Good. Good.
Yep.
We've been cautioned, and we've taken the decision that we've got to make some minimal progress.
So you've thrown caution to the wind?
We have been advised by the planning authority that the new planning application we've made is to regularise the process.
Yes, yes.
So assuming that that passes, then this dispute disappears.
Yeah. They've given you informally a sense that this is likely to gain approval now.
Piers is slightly reassured about the risk. However, the new planning application was a chance to introduce big improvements to the design at no extra cost, and the couple haven't taken it.
Did you not think that you might use that period to rethink certain things?
Not really, because the essence of our design we've revisited and we're totally satisfied with.
You know, what I find surprising is that everything that I come in and can see it at a glance is as ordinary as it can be. I mean, it's an off-the-peg staircase with a off-the-peg newel post and off-the-peg doors and off-the-peg... I mean, why would you do that? If you can build a house that's anything, why would you do that?
Because we are constrained by finance.
No, you're not. You're doing it as if a house builder was doing it, but you're doing a house for you that's your fantasy, that's your dream, that's your life savings, that you're going to grow old and adore, and yet you're doing something that the lowest common denominator house builder would do.
Maybe we adore. That is our dream. A bog standard staircase.
Yeah, I mean, in which case it's not a very fruitful conversation, but one would think that you'd work out how, when you came in, to make the most of a set of the spaces. And here, all I can see is a staircase that blocks me from actually seeing the one bit of daylight in a room that's quite dark.
It's been clear from the outset the dark kitchen is a big problem. Piers has a final chance to persuade Derek and Christine to do something about it.
I mean, you'd think that washing up or cooking or doing something with a sense of daylight or view would be one of life's fundamental things. I mean, really, I know I'm pushing you quite hard, and I haven't come here to really... Well, actually, I have come here to challenge you a bit.
That's okay, that's fine.
But I haven't come to sound off. What I've come to do is really just try and understand if there are ways, now that you can see the building around you, that you could change things to make it better for you.
Yes.
What you could do is put a lovely low window here that did allow you to bring light in.
Right. If we're going to the bother of cutting a hole in that and putting a window in, then I want a proper window that, being a tall person, I can see out.
Fantastic. Whether it stops there or whether it's there is up to you. I mean,
Right, yes. So we're in agreement on the window?
I think so.
Well, it's been a productive morning.
It seems like a breakthrough, and Piers isn't done yet. The couple rejected the idea of moving the kitchen, but he thinks there's still scope for a radical improvement of the upstairs, if they'll take his advice.
So the view does get better as you come up, doesn't it?
It's beautiful.
Oh, it's beautiful. It's what we bought the plot for.
You've decided not to connect these two spaces at all.
No, because it's not the kitchen.
But the way that this nice room connects with that room, that big opening, you'd think you could think about just doing more with it. I mean, I wonder whether, for example, I mean, this wall, it's so... I mean, I'm going to say, I use the word literal. It's so literal. Whatever you do to this now, whatever you put on it, it will still just be a wall and a room.
No, not at all. One of the possibilities that we're considering is going to an architectural scrapyard and getting some leaded glass or something of that sort.
But I would argue that makes little difference. I mean, why wouldn't you take it out, take the whole thing out, and then not have a standard door in, have one beautiful bit, one, you know, whole beautiful wall from here to here, from here to there, of this stained glass, etc., 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 because it would be beautiful, but it would also allow the light to come through. It would allow all of these spaces to feel big, feel generous.
Yeah, certainly I'm liking that idea of not having that as a conventional partition wall, making it a feature.
Could you run it right the way down so it became the balustrade, and that was a beautiful triangle of stained glass that came up into a wall of stained glass. So the whole thing in the middle of the house was this beautiful wall.
Piers is reiterating his idea that Derek and Christine replace the plasterboard wall with a subtle partition. However, he's now taking it a step further, by suggesting a combined glass partition and balustrade that could be an integrated, striking feature at the heart of the house. The upstairs room would be improved, and the balustrade would allow light to flood the stairs and kitchen diner, which are currently dark.
There's technical reservations and difficulties to overcome, but I like what we're trying to achieve. I like what we're trying to point.
I thought the ideas with the potential glass balustrading and that wall, I think, could be absolutely stunning.
Four months after Derek and Christine were advised to stop work on their house, there's a crucial development.
The big news is that we have planning permission. This is it, we can go, and we have gone, and we've ordered all sorts of things, and the building is progressing very quickly.
Getting the green light to continue building the house in the same position is a relief. But the 17-week delay has serious consequences.
We constructed the main body of the house in sort of late spring, with a view to doing most of the build during summer with extended evenings and warm weather, and we're now forced to do the same thing with a short working day, with cold, with frost, with damp and rain.
The changing weather is also making life in the caravan harder to bear.
It's the damp. Everywhere is damp. I always feel that when you put your clothes on, they feel slightly damp to me. Now it's getting a bit colder. I've attempted double glazing. I just ripped up an old plastic sheet from the building site and I've tried to stick it.
Weatherproofing is also the most critical job at the house. It's suffering in the rain.
There have been times when we've been lying awake in the caravan at 3 o'clock in the morning, listening to the rain, thinking what's happening at the house, and our possessions getting soaked through.
So far, 65k of the 95k budget has gone, including £8,000 worth of windows and doors. To economise, Derek's fitting them himself, with help from Christine's son, Greg.
It would have helped if it wasn't raining, but I guess what we're doing is trying to stop the rain coming in, so maybe as we progress we can test the theory. Are you OK with that?
Yeah, I'm worried about you, though.
Don't worry about me.
It's back-breaking work. At the end of a hard day, Derek's goal of a basic house fit to live in is one step closer.
The front door is now locked. There's a good chance within the next 24, 48 hours we'll be properly watertight and secure, and that's a long way towards what a house is. What is a house? A house is somewhere that's watertight and secure, so, you know, we're nearly there.
Derek and Christine's focus on getting into their house is understandable, but as they've already ruled out an upside-down layout, I fear they could plod on with their original plans and miss opportunities to make it uniquely theirs. They loved Piers's idea of a combined glass partition and balustrade, but haven't made any decision on how to incorporate it. I'm going to show them something I hope will inspire them to get going.
Been thinking about coloured glass, haven't you?
Yeah, that's an option, certainly. It brings light through, and we think the colours could add something to it.
And have you got any specific ideas of what you want that to be, you know?
Not at the moment. Looking for inspiration.
This London showroom is a collaboration between graphic designer Peter Saville and architect David Adjay.
So, come in. This is what I wanted to show you. This is a showroom for a Danish fabric manufacturer.
Right.
Who make very beautiful, like, coloured fabrics. So colour is very important to them. Christine, what do you make of these colours? Because it's quite a simple selection of colours in one way, isn't it? But
I think they're beautiful colours. They're like jewel colours, aren't they? Especially with the light in them glowing. I think it works beautifully in this big space. I'm not sure about in a smaller space.
how does that compare with the kinds of ideas you've had so far about what?
It's totally different, and it's interesting and refreshing. And the idea of 3 or 4 single panes, one colour each pane, there's less work involved, there's less construction involved. It could be a simpler, therefore cheaper way of doing it.
Derek, I like how you recognise that one great thing about minimalism is that it can be cheap.
This project reimagines a staircase as something that allows light through a building rather than blocking it. The same principle applies to using translucent furniture, such as tables and chairs.
You certainly get the full effect of the colours as you walk down.
It's
don't you?
lovely here, isn't it? When,
Yeah.
when you see the kind of doubles of reflections
Yes.
and your own reflection in the colour.
Yeah.
Everything else about it is very, very simple. Solid, light wood floor, simple steel handrail and a steel trim at the top. Yeah, this glass is not going to be cheap, but I think, as you said, Derek, a similar effect with panels of colour is achievable.
This is obviously an old building. It's an old warehouse that has been converted, but this very modern idea does marry very well with the old building, and it's a bit like our house. From the outside, it's not an old building, but it's a traditional building, and we're trying to do something a bit contemporary inside.
Having these kinds of ideas might just be the thing that makes your interior really special.
I think the difficulty now is going back home and translating this into reality, discussing in price, both of which are serious impingements on any idea. But the idea of filtering different colours into the bedroom is superb, and it would be very nice to be able to translate it into reality if we can.
This staircase cost around £170,000. Our visit seems to have inspired Derek and Christine, but the challenge now is to help them create an affordable version for their house. That's where Piers' ingenuity with low-cost solutions comes into play. And he thinks the answer is in a bus breaker's yard in Barnsley.
Coming here may be initially a bit of a letdown, but actually this is a treasure trove of incredible stuff, really good quality stuff that can be reused, repurposed into something truly spectacular. Well, as you've seen, Kieran gets to take you to these amazing, glamorous places, whereas I get to take you to a breaker's yard.
This is where buses come to die.
It is, absolutely. In theory, they've reached the end of their life, but everything gets repurposed and reused, and finding something here that we can make your glass wall out of could be amazing. Let's go and have a scavenge.
Right.
So as you can see, this is a bus that's been already stripped, and this is just sheet aluminium that gets taken off and will get recycled, and critically all the glass comes out of it. Good quality, low cost glass.
Yeah.
Right.
Jeff Ripley runs the breaker's yard.
Tell me about this. I mean, this is toughened or laminated?
That's toughened, that. You get your kite mark on these, if you see down here, look.
And because it's toughened, we can't cut it, can we?
No, you can't, no.
And what would a piece like that cost?
Roughly, it costs you about £25.
At that price, a large glass feature is infinitely more affordable than buying a bespoke system, though it's vital to check it complies with building regulations, and it will take a bit of work.
There is quite a lot that you would need to do to this.
Yes.
Otherwise, it will just look like a bus window. So I think the colour and the tinting of it is something we can play with, but also the method of fixing so that it does become a wall, not a loose piece of glass.
Piers wants to help Derek and Christine visualise a glass wall by making a quick mock-up.
So if you imagine this is your wall stud-work, or this is vertical timber when it's laid up, what we'll actually do is lay the glass on top of this.
Right.
So they still look like old bus windscreens at the moment, don't they?
It certainly does, and I'm very interested to see how you can prettify this into a work of art.
In these boxes,
Right.
I've got some stained glass film. And this comes in all sorts of different colours.
Yeah.
I mean, this is one size, but again, you can get it in all sorts of different sizes. This starts at about £5 a sheet.
So you could go from, say, a deep mustard to a sunshine yellow to a primrose. You could if you wanted.
Absolutely. Or you could go from something that was relatively opaque down to something that was completely translucent and transparent.
Right.
Which would be interesting. What do you reckon, Christine?
I think it's got potential. Before you have my judgment, let's see the finished item. Your imagination, you could run riot with these, couldn't you?
Oh, absolutely.
You could have all sorts of designs.
Yeah.
1, 2, 3. Keep going, keep going.
Oh, very nice. Yes.
So let's stand back, see how it looks. It's great.
Yeah, get the full effect.
Yeah.
Or hide the imperfections.
Whatever.
I think it's great. I love it. It's so not 3 bus windscreens, is it?
No, it's been transformed. And you can do so many things with those colours. We've just done it very basic.
Absolutely.
I think looking from the example the other day, I was quite taken with the very light pastel colours. And I think there's room for experimentation. But it doesn't matter. You're demonstrating a principle today, which we can take forward. It spindles down.
10 months into the build, Derek and Christine are struggling to finish their interior. The 95k budget is all gone, and extra spending will eat into savings earmarked for enjoying retirement.
You think some coving?
Interior finishes can run into tens of thousands of pounds, but the couple will have to manage on a shoestring and find a way to make them look stylish when combined with all their existing possessions.
Maybe a plastic finish, I don't know.
It's a tall order, so I've brought them to a home that could have valuable lessons for them.
What we're going to see today is a house that feels a bit like it's been evolved over time. Lots of very personal possessions, lots of rich materials, not your typical minimal designed, architect-designed interior. And I'm hoping you're going to pick up on some of the warmth and coziness of that, and maybe it'll give you some ideas.
This sounds like a really homely
Sounds
home.
good.
That's what I'm hoping you're going to like. Should we go take a look?
Let's go see it, yeah.
This is the London home of Swedish interior designer Lotta Cole, who effortlessly blends old and new, plain and patterned.
Oh, what a beautiful big room.
Lovely, isn't it?
It is, it's
The
lovely.
full width of the house up here, and it's a
yes.
beautiful room.
Look.
Yes.
Oh, look! That's a surprise.
Oh, wow.
Right.
Really luxurious, generous bathroom.
They must
isn't it?
really love their baths.
I think this room is really calm, really beautiful.
Yes.
But I think one of the things that's interesting is there's still a lot of different things in here. You know, we've got early modern furniture, which is clearly Swedish. You know, the designer's Swedish. You see that atmosphere here. We've got almost kind of Moorish, North African style.
Yes.
You know, you could say this is quite eclectic, but it's still very calm.
But overall, it's the cool colours in here. Yes, they're all cool colours.
Mixing styles can look chaotic, but by keeping walls, floors and window dressings simple, interesting items can take centre stage without it all feeling overwhelming.
What about for you, Derek? Do you think there's anything here that you can learn from, that you can take?
That diagonal board behind the bed, perhaps that's something we could incorporate.
In a living room, an eclectic mix of possessions against dark walls can be used for a cosy effect.
Oh, wow.
That was a good reaction, Christine.
Lovely.
So I can see the smile on your face.
Yeah,
Christine, tell me what you think of this
There's
painting.
so much to take in. That's my first impression. It will take a long time to have a look at everything.
This is the classic trick of grouping a collection, while adding splashes of colour against a dark backdrop encourages the eye to travel from one item to the next.
The colour's rather beautiful in here, isn't it? This deep blue and this deep red.
It is, but to me, because it's quite a small room and it's quite a dark room, I find this colour quite oppressive to me.
This is more your style?
Yes, yes.
You were talking in there about darkness and you didn't like that. This is the absolute opposite.
Absolutely, yes.
Flooded with light, white, beautiful colours.
Yeah.
The kitchen diner is a great example for Derek and Christine of combining treasured old possessions in a modern room. Lots of battered old items together can create a junk shop effect, but if selected shabby pieces are contrasted with sleek modern lines, the results are great.
So I wanted to just explore a bit around here because there's a lot of detail here which is quite charming, isn't it?
It is. It's lovely.
These really quirky door handles.
Absolutely lovely. I love the door handles. And I think some of these things are quite cheap and basic.
Oh, yeah.
But they have been dressed up to look different and expensive. Now, I can't believe that these fronts are expensive. And I'll tell you what else I like about these spoons and forks, that they don't match.
Yeah,
they're all different. They're all different. Yeah.
It's really nice, that, isn't it? Because it's kind of controlled chaos.
It is. It's thought about chaos.
Absolutely. Should we just have a seat? Because I want to talk about this beautiful table.
It is. This lovely
really
bespoke
nice,
table.
isn't it? You'll just see these faint circular shadows here. These were shelves in a cheese-making factory, and so the rounds of cheese would have stood here. And they sort of contain that history now, these pieces of timber. The legs are 40 quid from architectural salvage. So these are, you know, this is a super cheap piece of furniture, but it's got loads of character and loads of history.
It's our style. It's very much us. And it's cheap, which is also very much us.
It's now 14 months since the frame of Derek and Christine's house went up, and the project has taken almost twice as long as expected. Derek is exhausted and finding it increasingly hard to get things done. Despite that, he's working on 2 pieces inspired by the visit to Lotta Cole's house.
This table is made principally from these iron supports. They were bought on the internet, and we've joined them together with scaffold boards. And with that, we have a very nice dining table that cost us in total the princely sum of, about £100, £110, something like that.
Derek's also hard at work creating a bench seat.
We were very taken with the idea of the seat, which was done with diagonal panelling, the same as this.
All it takes is surplus timber from the build and around £25 worth of tongue and groove panelling. Christine's created a seat cushion from foam and a fabric remnant, keeping additional costs negligible.
There we are, we'll just run a bit of skirting board around that tomorrow, and that'll just finish it off nicely.
We've followed Derek and Christine's progress for nearly 2 years, through good times and bad. Now Piers and I are back to find out what the couple have achieved.
Derek and Christine dreamt of moving to the south of England for their retirement, and the only way to achieve that was to plough their life savings into a self-build. We've tried our best to steer them away from the ordinary and the standard and help them build a home that reflects them and the way they want to live and makes the most of their £95,000 budget.
I genuinely don't know what to expect today because it's been such a hard road, and I really pushed Derek and Christine, and at times I really felt upset and quite challenged by this whole process, and actually I should be really detached. So it could be a real dog's dinner or it could be great, and there's no way of knowing until I go inside. Here we are.
Hi, Derek. Hi, Christine.
Hello again.
Nice to see you. So it's an amazing feeling for me to be standing here with this pristine new house. How do you feel to have finished it?
Well, if it's amazing for you, it's wonderful for us.
The exterior of the house is in good shape, unlike Derek, who's got a bad back.
We're just immensely proud and glad that we've got sort of almost to the end. Very proud of what we've achieved.
I can't wait to see it, Christine. Can we take a look?
Yeah, certainly. Come and have a look. Can't wait to show you.
Having rejected Piers' idea of an upside-down house, the couple were on track for a dark, poky kitchen.
So this is it. What a great space.
But thanks to Piers' nagging, they finally added a window that's transformed it.
I've got to commend you on this window because, of course, it looks great and the light that comes in is fantastic.
Will you admit that that window's a good idea?
It's worked incredibly well.
And particularly now, as the sun is coming round due south and it floods in through those two windows, I think it's beautiful.
The couple have injected fun and originality to the kitchen by buying the cheapest kitchen units they could find, then having them sprayed at a car body shop for just £550. The high-gloss metallic finish has another big plus.
I'm so pleased that you've done these cupboards because the point of them is to reflect a lovely, warm, glowing light back into this kitchen. And they do that, don't they?
The window's a real success story. Piers' next big suggestion was to create a floor-to-ceiling wall of recycled coloured glass.
We've incorporated glass as you desired.
Safety fittings like a handrail have yet to be installed, and Derek's glass may be plain, not coloured, but light from upstairs is flooding into the kitchen diner. However, Piers hoped for more.
I thought we were talking about this wall.
Your selling piece for that idea was to let more light into the bedroom. And we spent some considerable time sitting up in bed, looking at different angles, sitting on the settee, looking at different angles, and deciding that your idea actually didn't add any extra light. If you sit in the bed now and look out, you can see out of both windows without using your idea.
We will have to agree to disagree.
The ground floor works better than expected thanks to the extra sources of daylight. But Piers and I couldn't persuade Derek and Christine to take the big step of creating a flexible living space upstairs. Piers wants to explore why.
You know, in a modern house that you can build from scratch, you can have big spaces, lots of light, and rethink the configuration.
Yes.
And however good this house is, it feels quite conventional. Smallish rooms, all linked by staircases or doors, and small doors out onto a garden. Why is it so conventional?
We had endless discussions between ourselves as to how big the rooms could go to maintain that budget.
Hang on there. What's interesting about contemporary architecture is that you don't need to have rooms. And the notion of rooms is a fairly traditional way of looking at a set of spaces. And it's an inherited model of building based around only heating small spaces and based around construction techniques. But when you can do anything, you can have any configuration of spaces in the world, you end up with something that has rooms and familiar language of a conventional
I like
house.
rooms. You made this point before, but I like rooms. I like the fact that Derek can go in that room, shut the door, and I haven't gotten to listen to his horrible music.
The ground floor has remained as Derek and Christine originally planned it, with the 2 guest bedrooms doubling as a study for Derek and a sewing room for Christine. And they're pleased with the results.
Regardless of the architectural aesthetics, this suits our lifestyle.
Derek and Christine didn't go for some of the big ideas we showed them, but the furniture designs they took on have worked out beautifully. Upstairs, the master bedroom is light and cheerful. The living room, with its double aspect and stunning view, is exactly what Christine and Derek planned.
It's always bright, it's always inviting, and that is beyond price.
But it doesn't look like the modern interior they said they were aiming for.
I think it's really interesting that you've made this room the way you have, because you've created a wholly new house from scratch. And this room, basically everything in it could have been any time from the last 40 years. Like, this is the eternal British living room with a floral sofa and magnolia walls and anaglyptus ceiling and all of that in a brand new house. And there's something about it for me, which the key to which are these photos, because I look at this gallery and think, this is really what you care about. You want this to be cosy, you want it to be nice, you want to have a nice view, but these are the things you're creating a stage for, which is your social lives, your memories, all of those things, and that's when this house is going to work like that. It's probably the room that's most familiar to people watching this right now.
It is reproduced constantly. That means it's what people want.
The living room may be different from what Piers and I imagined, but the balcony is exactly as planned.
So this is the real payoff, isn't it? I mean, this lovely terrace, is it working the way you hoped?
Oh, absolutely. This was an absolutely integral, non-negotiable part of the design. I am glad that we had this glass. It's something modern on an otherwise traditional building.
And it means you get the view no matter where you sit in the room.
Actually, this is a house that has generous spaces. There's lots of light. It's full of things like this that are unconventional. And this is a really low-cost house. And that's really unexpected. And you knew what you were talking about all along. Derek, I can see where the money's gone. On your hot tub.
Absolutely. Well, it's very important to us to be able to relax at the end of the day.
I mean,
Absolutely.
hot tub aside, though, I like that you, unlike many people who do low-cost houses, have thought about how the house meets the garden.
Derek and Christine have created a useful extension to the kitchen diner with a generous deck that's great for entertaining. Fear of overspending was one of the key reasons the couple rejected big changes during their build. So how have the finances worked out?
You originally said you had a budget of £95,000 for this build. How much have you spent to date?
We've done it for 108,000. And that 108,000 includes everything.
But did you have a contingency? How have you handled that?
We hoped we'd have quite a lot of holidays. Now we'll only have a few holidays.
Right. Was there any big-ticket item that blew the budget, or was it just a cumulative thing?
There was an extra couple of thousand on the foundations. Delays in planning. We had scaffolding up around the house and we were paying rental on the scaffolding. That's an unforeseen cost and it was really out of our control. But whatever, within 10% of our start budget, I'm quite happy with that.
Throughout the build, Piers hasn't pulled his punches. So is Derek feeling bruised?
It is important to test your comfort zones and actually just to explore alternative ways of doing things, even if you come back to build something that you're familiar with.
We always wanted challenging, and you've done that. And OK, we haven't accepted all your ideas, but it's been good fun.
Has it taken a lot out of you, building this?
Yes. Undoubtedly. It's difficult, but it's great fun. It's a damn good challenge, and it's well worth it.
Remarkably, Derek and Christine have achieved their dream of a house in the south of England for a build cost of just £108,000. As they finally enjoy the fruits of their labours, Piers and I still have a lot to dwell on.
What's important about this build is it challenges people like Piers and I to think about what design is really for. There's no way that this building is ever going to win any design awards, but it's about Derek and Christine creating a lifestyle for themselves. And this building is all about enabling that. For their retirement, they want to be sociable, they want to enjoy themselves, and this is a building tuned to all of those purposes. So I think they've done this with bravery and energy, and it's a great testament to their own vision.
Next time, Jason and Rika attempt to build a low-cost home with high ambition.
I thought the house we were building had a lot of glass, but wow.
This is all glass, isn't it?
But is theirs even possible for 100k?
If I saw these drawings, I would say that this would be about 450 grand.
But will Jason's obsession with detail
2, 3. It has to be millimetre perfect.
be his downfall?
I just can't believe this.